There's something wrong here, there can be no denying.
Hello, today's video is called Switch number 3. Today is April 26, 2023. The agenda for today is background, random entities, there is no Camelot, beauty contests, and final comment.
There's something wrong here, there can be no denying.
Just like the song says, there can't be any denial about there is a problem here. In previous videos, I talked about the hidden inversion that has been happening in this planet for a very long time. There is a video called What is a Switch? Switch number 2, and now we're going to be doing switch number 3. The rationale for this is that in order to become rich, famous, and powerful, any person in this planet must adhere to this religion. I'm not going to say certain words to avoid censorship, but in this type of religion, the objective is to merge two genders into one. In previous videos, I had a look at the type of things and signs that are important to be searching for, important to look in terms of proportions, important also to find multiple signs. It's not only one thing, but multiple things, and overall the energy that emanates from each entity, be it masculine or feminine. In the left, you have a visual of a very famous model called Giselle, and on the right is the sister. And you're going to notice a lot of differences, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. We're going to talk about skull shape, shoulder shape, arm length. So let's talk about the skull shape. Here you're going to see a lot more structured, and here is going to be in a female, more elongated pear shape. Shoulders are going to be more straight, sloping. Arm length, longer, shorter. Torso versus the legs proportion. You can see how elongated is this, and it's almost as long as this. Here is short and obviously more long. The forearm versus the arm proportion is almost 50-50. Here you're going to see is shorter on the lower part, and we're going to also look at the femur rotation or absence of it. So here in the male, you are going to see separation, and here you're going to see a lot of diminishing that gap, and we're going to see more visuals. Belly button location, here you're going to see it's not going to be in the same proportional position versus the waist, and the shoulder hip proportion that is perhaps the most important. We're going to add in this video something that I call the proportion test. So what you do is eventually you will do it in your head, but when you begin to look into proportions, you do a line that runs across the two shoulders, and then you use the same line to make sure that it's aligned with the hips. Here you can see there is a deviation, and if we do the same exercise with a female, you're going to see that it's almost perfect. So that is very easy to do, and eventually you're going to be able to do it with your eyes without doing the lines. I'm going to do a lot of lines in this video just so we get used to them, but eventually we have some limitations, and they are that you have to have bathing suits, otherwise clothes are going to hide shapes. You have to have a frontal view because angles are going to make things very difficult, and also it cannot be photoshopped. We're going to talk about knee appearance. In a male, it's going to be more rough, and the female is going to be softer. The hourglass figure has to be present instead of being completely straight. The hand size and also the landing in proportion to the body. So you can see here how close is to this gap, and here how low is in comparison to the gap. The feet size, the space between the legs, the eye separation. We're going to see a lot of examples. The collarbone inclination or absence of, so in the male is going to be very straight, and the female is going to create almost a V, and is going to be getting into the center, and the size of the mouth. The walk and the stairs, we talked about this last video. In a female, this is almost non-existent or completely closed. In the male, there's going to be a gap, and when a female is going down the stairs, they have to rotate the femur, and you're going to create again absence of space, and the male is going to open because there's no possibility of rotation, and you create once again a gap. Collarbone and finger ratio, we spoke about this also. In the female, it's going to almost be a V. In a male, it's going to be completely straight. The female ratio in terms of the fingers is going to be lower in the so-called ring finger, and in the male is going to be either aligned with this one or at the very least longer than the index. Symbolism, we talked about this, is again the same entity, Giselle, very high ranked in this negative group of people, and you can see that they are doing since the 1800s in paintings. You can see a symbolism, and even going back in time, if you look at the paintings, this position of the hand, that is a Masonic symbol, and a lot of models do it. It's very difficult and unnatural to do it, so that's why it's obvious that it's a symbol. A lot of other options that can be seen, and we spoke about this as well as the infamous black eye. So today I'm going to do some random entities. I was watching Formula One on Netflix, and there was the return of this driver, and then they were talking about the fact that during his break he had, quote, he and his wife, quote, had a baby. But then I was just looking at the screen and said, what is that gap? Not only here you have a very wide, very structured, strong arms, but there is a gap. And then I went online and looked at the female versus the male, and you can see they're inverted. Here you can see the elongated neck, the presence of the apple, the size of the skull, the size of the mouth, the separation of the eyes, and the softness of the eyes coming out of this entity pretending to be a man. I also did a lot of analysis on Formula One, but this one was interesting to see the separation on the legs. From The Voice, there's a contestant, and I thought about this a lot because you can see here, obviously, that is an impersonator, and could be that is evidently saying, okay, I'm a male, I'm pretending to be a woman. But what is interesting about this made me think that this long nails trend could be also a creation to be able to hide these elongated digits, so you can pretend they are the same once you put these artificial nails. From the news, this entity has not been called back to do Selling Sunset, so there's a lot of information online about this entity that is supposed to have been pregnant, that had a baby, which is physically impossible. We're going to see why. And then this, quote, man, that obviously when you look at the digit ratio, at the way they walk here, you put one foot in front of the other one, and here actually she's doing a good job, but you can still see the space between the legs, the eye separation, and here you're going to see the straight collarbone and the hands that just really hang too low for a female. Look at this. We talked about this. They have to be hands at this height, or this is a male, this is a female, and again, the infamous Masonic sign. From hockey, fantastic player for the Leafs, a team in Toronto, number 44, Morgan Riley. But once again, you can see how he was engaged in January of this year to this, quote, lady. But you can see how the males have more separated the eyes. Here you can see there is a chin implant. That's pretty obvious. Look at the strength of these shoulders. Look at the collarbone that is completely straight. And then you can see the softness in the eyes, the closeness in the eyes, the smoothness in the overall skull, and the small mouth. Here you can see a little bit more of, look at the energy coming out of these eyes. Look at the softness here. So it's everywhere that you can clearly see. And here you can see them selling the government propaganda. As you can see, I spend a lot of time trying to find something interesting to watch on Netflix, but it's impossible. I watched something like 7 minutes of this thing called First Class. I thought, okay, I'm going to see fashion. No, not really, not without the constant propaganda. So here is a male that is supposed to be a designer. And here you can see the digit ratio. So it's actually a female impersonating a man. And I don't know what this is. It's supposed to be a female, but you can see it's just a disaster. Entities from the past, you can see here. Right away, even if you don't look at the collarbone, you can see the overall energy and the skull size. That's pretty clear now that this is a male, masculine energy. Look at this jawline, the length of the neck. The straight collarbone is very clear here. The masculine stance, I don't think I've ever seen a woman standing up like that. And look at the landing of the hand, how low it is. The look and feel, the massive shoulders, the eye separation, the Masonic symbol, and once again, the digit ratio. A previous James Bond, you can see, okay, he's an attractive man and this is the wife. But then when you slowly go through the details, you can see the straight collarbone, the eye separation, look at the chin here, and look at the chin here, and the skull shape. This is more round and this is more structured. And once again, the digit ratio, the pelvic rotation. A female will place one foot in front of the other one. And here you can see the rotation of the pelvis. This is straight and this is tilting. And finally, in those casual pictures on beaches, those are the best ever because they typically are not photoshopped and they are released without understanding that some of us are already seeing what this is all about. So there is gap here on the female, so this is a male, and there is no gap and a full cross on the male, so that is a female. Fashion and models, I have no idea what this is. I really don't know. I don't know what to say. I have no idea. And then when you look in the past, Gianni Versace was assassinated in Miami a long time ago, but you can see when they were in the runway together, there is no gap here, and here there is a gap. There is a white area here that belongs to another model, but you can see there is a gap. So this is a male, this is a female, and then here you can see Gianni Versace, and then here this is a very famous Canadian model, Linda Evangelista, straight. And then interesting, I was just thinking, do they recycle people? This is from 1992, and here you can see from 2022. You must have heard of this Hadid, Bella Hadid. Collarbones and shoulders versus hip proportion in the so-called Angels and Victoria's Secret. Everybody knows that the secret is that they are males. So let's do the proportion test. We're going to the line here on the top. And you can see there's a little bit of tilting of the shoulders, so it's deceiving. Nevertheless, it's that long, and then you can see it's not aligned with the hip. So that's a male. It doesn't matter how much plastic boobs you have, it is a male. In this one, you can see immediately the masculine energy, but let's do the test. And then here you can see more or less when the line falls, and obviously it's the same length of the line, it's not going to work. Now, there's something that I used to really reject when I was growing up, when I was hearing about JFK and JFK Jr. and all that type of comment that is Camelot, and I was not able to understand, and I went a little bit deeper into it a long time ago, and I was very unimpressed by the fact that this was supposed to be encapsulating youth and vitality and integrity of this so-called administration. But when you go a little bit into research as to how did the Kennedy family got their money, it says here there is banking, stock trading, producing movies, and selling liquor. And I have learned a long time ago that whatever you put last is what is most meaningful with these people. So actually selling liquor, it was importing liquor during the moments when it was illegal. So obviously they were dealing with the mob and things like that. So the family money has a dark source. So how can they talk about integrity? But let's have a look at the entities that I was supposed to find attractive from these so-called dynasties. So don't get too excited about this picture, because right away you're going to see that the clavicles are coming to the center of the heart. You look at the digit ratio, the pointy chin, look at the gait, one foot in front of the other one, and the person that is supposed to be the female has the very wide open space. And when Caroline Bessette was engaged to JFK Jr., there was this infamous fight in the park in New York, and I was puzzled as to how would they do it. And it's very rare that you see a regular male in this position, but it was very submissive, feminine energy, alpha, masculine energy. Who did the sexiest man alive? JFK Jr. dated for 5 years. Daryl Hannah, masculine energy, eye separation, neck length, collarbone. Skull size is from Blade Runner, and you can see how they use a lot of props. Obviously, they use this type of things, the hair as well, to try to fool us about the real proportions. But you can see right away that there is no alignment here. And obviously, you can see the length of the arms and the position of the hand. And once again, you see the shoes here, and everything is trying to deceive you. The straight back, there's no way that is a female. Look at the arm length, the chin structure, 100% male energy. So that is the date of JFK Jr. for 5 years. So you can draw your own conclusions. And who did he end up marrying? This so-called woman, Caroline, masculine energy, eye separation, more masculine energy. Look at the hand What kind of size is that? Straight collarbone, hand location, arm length. We all know this is male to female, and even knowing that, you can see that these arms are even longer, and there's a lot of masculine energy here. And obviously with time they put a lot of work and money to try to fake it, but look at the arm length, and most importantly the size of these hands. So I don't know what you see, but I do see a man. So who were the parents of the sexiest man alive? Look at the collarbone. When I was younger, everybody used to say that this woman was beautiful. And I said, how is that beautiful? Maybe I'm not seeing it, but well, clearly I was right. So you can see here is falling, it's very soft, and here is very structured, but this is undeniable. You can totally see it. Look at this. Here it's just falling out. It's incredible. Here, later during a dinner, and here you can see Adam's apple, the length of the neck. Look at this short neck, lengthy neck, structured, soft. Here you can see one step in front of the other one. There's a tilt angle here, so you can't really see from the front, but still you can see there's less separation here than here. This is supposed to be a female. And again, the passive role in these images, you can see how he's more submissive, and this is the masculine strong energy. So very interesting to see. And who do we see here? The ex so-called queen. Look at that. It was not a queen, it was a king. And who was the lover of JFK? Marilyn Monroe. The most successful transfer of gender that most people really fight about, and they have a hard time seeing it. It took me some time to actually see it. Look at the jawline, the neck, the eye separation, the masculine energy that is also coming out of those eyes. And you are supposed to believe that this, quote, woman, look at the straight collarbone, that was supposed to be the most beautiful and sexy in the whole universe, this is the best she can do, she married this man. Do you really believe that? I think that they just assign people that you're supposed to marry based on the amount of money people provide, like a mafia or something. It has to be like that. There's no logic here. Here you can see the index ratio, and most importantly, as we spoke last time, the clothing is not being filled. This is not a man. You can see all this is air. Here is feeding. This is not feeding. All this is collapsing. That's a female. Here, Adam's apple, the index of the digits, the neck. And after JFK was dead, who did Jackie marry? Aristotle Onassis. And let's look at the proportion test. Look at the shoulders, look at the hips, look at the waist, look at the digit ratio. So that is a female. Look at the jaw structure. Once again, very strong, very soft. Again, I think that he paid a lot of money to marry her or something. This is an interview, and she seems more, this is the day of the wedding, she's more interested in the interviewer than the husband. Well, that's why. Here, look at this length of these arms, and this is with the daughter of Aristotle. Look at both of them, space in between the legs. Both are males. Who was the lover of Aristotle before marrying Jackie, the soprano Maria Callas? Look at the arm length. Look at the jawline. Look at the collarbone, completely straight. Look at this, straight. Look at the position of the arm. Look at the overall energy, the structure of the jaw, the energy that is emanating. It's just not. Look at the eyes. Just look, focus on the eyes. That's not a female. And then here is really crazy. Now, if you go online and you do a search on YouTube for Maria Callas singing Casta Diva, you're going to see a lot of details about the digit ratio. You can also see the neckline, also the Adam's apple, the structure of the jaw. By the way, incredible voice. It's just incredible. But, I mean, they're lying. They have been lying. The daughter of Aristotle Onassis, Christina Onassis, and we're going to also see the granddaughter Athena in a minute. And the separation of the legs that we just saw, more of the same, more of the same. Sadly, this entity was so ugly, and she was supposed to be, or he was supposed to be a she, so it struggled a lot during her lifetime. She ended up committing suicide, apparently in a bathtub in Argentina. And for those of you that are into symbols, apparently dying in a bathtub is a whole ritual. I don't know much about that. Here is the granddaughter Athena. Look where the hands fall. Way too low. Look at the Adam's apple. Look at the structure. Look at the whole neck. And here you can see very clearly what is happening. And once again, very similar to Estefania de Monaco, that obviously look very similar. And this is also male to female. Beauty contests, Miss Universe random picks. So once again, when you have swimsuit or a little bit of opening in the upper side of the dresses, is way easier for us to see these things. So in females are way easier to detect than in males, but the gait is what is always going to give them away. Here you can see the collarbone, the digit ratio, the Masonic sign, and look at the size of that arm. I don't know who is that person, but it's very big. The absence of waist. Can you imagine this is Miss Universe? It's just, there's no curves. The Masonic sign, digit ratio, not a lot of feminine energy coming. Look at the size of this neck. And why do you think they put this here? We know now they're hiding that area either because they have the Adam's apple or they have the scar of the removal. Another random pick. Let's do a proportion test. Failing. It's not aligned. But here we see the digit ratio, so it's the same entity. Here you can see the shoulders, very structured, very straight. And here the collarbone completely straight, the square jawline. So when you see more than 3, 4, I am convinced. I typically do not rely on 1 or 2. I like to see 3 or more. And here you're going to see lots of that. So why did this entity buy the rights of Miss Universe? Is that really a masculine face? I did an analysis on this one in the last video. There is a full alignment between shoulder and hips. So again, another female that is moving into male. Masonic sign, collarbone. Look at this hand. Look at these fingers. Just incredible. It's right in front of our eyes. Look at this arm. When have you seen a woman with this type of lengthy arm? That's not normal. Look at the eye separation, the mouth size. And we're going to do another proportion test. So here is the shoulders and here are the hips and not a alignment. So that's a male. More of the same, collarbone. Some are more passable, even though you can see the collarbone, than others. I don't know what this is. Pretty scary. Skull, jawline, collarbone, Masonic symbol never fails to do that. And when they do that, actually, you can see easily the index of the fingers. In 2014, Miss Universe was Paulina Vega from Colombia. So we are going to see a closer look at this because we're going to do the proportion test. And guess what? Didn't pass. And then the one eye, that is a very strong symbol. More images from another woman that competed in Colombia. I should say a man that competed as a woman, and the overall feel is very masculine. This one, I know now because you have trained your eyes at this point. The proportion test is not required. You can see the energy emanating very masculine, but we're going to do it anyway, and of course, failed. Some are better than others, and I'm wondering if they do feelers here or between the clothing and the feelers, they can do something better. Something that comes all the time is why is aging so revealing, and it's because when you're younger, as a male, as a female, you have a lot more baby fat. So in 1992, this was Miss Colombia. At the time, everybody was saying that this was the most beautiful Miss Colombia ever existed in the universe, whatever. But then as you age, the baby fat disappears and then the jawline becomes very obvious and everything becomes clear. Here's an image that, interesting enough, was not photoshopped, even though it's not a natural picture from a beach, but we're going to do a proportion test and of course the entity fails. But magazines are always photoshopped. So here when I do, first of all, there's hair, obviously, to hide everything. But when you do the test, it's going to pass because it's photoshopped. And then mixing from young age, this person was Miss Colombia in 1984. And she started at my school in Bogota. And even though it was before my time, I never heard any type of gossip or any type of rumors about that entity being a male. So what they do, and I'm understanding this more and more, even I remember meeting somebody from Iceland and he went to school with York. And the only comment he said to me is, oh, yes, she was a little odd. So, yes, you can see that maybe they're odd or they're normal or whatever, but you get them inside of the real society with people that are not inverted, and then you achieve the ultimate deceitful action. Here you can see the day of the wedding completely straight. Why would you put this here? That doesn't make any sense. Of course, either they just remove and they have a scar from the removal of the Adam's apple, or it's still visible and they didn't have time to do the operation. The real gender is coming through as you age, and here you can see more of the structure of the body. And I did the proportion test here. First of all, you can see here the collarbone, and the proportion test is not going to be passed. One thing that I always noticed when I was growing up and looking at this contest is the structure of the legs. Women are not so big when they are thin, and when you are in this beauty contest, you have to be almost anorexic. So this is a contradiction versus the overall structure. All I can say is the pictures speak for themselves. Thank you very much for listening.